was a dog for a few of his lives, and then he turned into a man. And in the life where he's a man, will he be attracted to dogs or something?
You see, I live in England, and this comment is very rough to pass, but this is a true comment. You see, in the Hindu religion, they say if you associate yourself with animals too much, suppose you got a pet, a cat or a dog, and you see, in England, dog is favorite. The Hindu religion would warn you and say that be very careful, because if you associate with that animal too long, forget about dog becoming human, human can become a dog. It's a frightening thought. That's why the Hindus will say, look, haven't you seen, heard, look, this is a mythological story, but it's a powerful story, of a story of King Bharat. Have you heard the story of King Bharat? Let me just count it, it's a nice story. King Bharat was a very pious, very lovely king of India, ancient India. Very spiritual, he led a very positive life, very righteous, honest king. Now King Bharat, in those days they said that when you reach certain age, you give up your kingdom and walk into the forest, Aranyak, go into the forest and become a hermit. So you give up all your kingdom, your wealth, and say, now I'm going to spend my rest of my life thinking about higher spiritual things, no material world. So King Bharat went into the forest, he built a little cottage for himself. Look, he's a king, he built a little cottage. He's just spending his time in meditation. This is how he discovered all this Purushukta came out. He would spend time in contemplation, meditation, and things were going very well. He was hitting highs. Then one day, before he started to sit down for meditation, there's a little stream of water passing by his hut. That's how he gets his water supply. And before he went into meditation, he suddenly saw a lady, a female deer come, and she was pregnant. And while she was trying to cross the stream, she toppled over and she died. And she gave birth to a little baby deer. And the baby deer was going to be taken away, swept away by the water. And King Bharat is a compassionate person. So he got up, he picked up the baby deer and brought it to his little hut. He said, I can't let this baby deer die. So he started to feed it, give it grass, look after it, tend it, and he fell in love with this little baby deer. And the baby deer would stay close to the hut, chew grass around the hut, keep looking at this King Bharat and be very friendly. Now King Bharat developed tremendous attachment to this deer. You see, because he's like a child, he's been born and brought up in front of him. He developed attachment to this deer. The story goes, look, this is a story, but enjoy the story. The story goes, when King Bharat died, he was reborn as a deer. It's because the last thing that Bhagavad Gita says, the last thing that you think about before you die becomes you, or if you like, this is where you are projected. So the poor man, he was a major king, was projected as a deer, and he was born as a deer. And the story is very interesting. Take it with a pinch of salt. Always take story with a pinch of salt. But he's giving the same idea this young girl is saying. Animal-human relationship. And then this deer, the story goes, because of his character was this high philosophy principle, even though he was born in a deer's body, that character was still there, trapped in a deer's body. So how did he show his character? It only would go where the hermits were meditating and chanting the Vedic mantra. The deer would just go and live near there and listen. He doesn't know why, because he's a deer. He can't understand. He spent a whole life as a deer, but deliberately grazing near the hermitages. And then when that deer passed away, he was reborn again as a human. And when he was reborn as a human, he recalled what mistake he made last time. He associated with the deer and got caught. He had to go into an extra cycle. So he said, this time, no nonsense. So from the time he was already knowledgeable, high, because this came from his previous life. His character was still there. But now, because he had learned a harsh lesson, he decided not to speak to anybody. He said, I don't want to be attached to anybody, including my family. So this man kept himself aloof. He wouldn't get attached to his father, mother, his brothers. He had lots of brothers. He would not even talk to the brothers. He said, I don't want to be attached, so I just going to keep quiet. Zoom, zip. Because he had very rough experience being born as a deer. He doesn't want to have the second time. He said, nothing doing anymore with society, nothing with anybody, any other human being. I'm going to focus on myself, Atman, and nothing else will get in my way. So he would not speak to anybody, and the wives of the brothers would say, what an idiot. He's an idiot. They call him Jada Bharat. Means a thick Bharat. So they said, this is a man who should not be even fed by us. Why should we look after this madman? He's not speaking. He doesn't have any, intelligence at all. So they were mistreating him. And this man said, nothing doing. I'm not going to speak. So he lived like that. This is a story of Jada Bharat. This is a very lovely story. And this person kept mum quiet until almost a long time in his life, until an incident occurred where a king was pushing him hard. I won't go into the big story. Let me just touch it. It's a nice story. Let me carry on. One day the king's palki, palkin, where the king people are carrying, where it was passing by the village, and one of the palki carrier developed some kind of illness, stomachache or something, and he couldn't carry. So they look around the village, who can help the king get the palki to his kingdom? And they saw this Bharat, he was quite tough and quite large. They said, catch him. He's this idiot, but it doesn't matter, let's catch him and he will carry the palki. So they carry the palki and they were walking. And Bharat said, no problem, without argument he would carry. And while they were walking, the palki was rocking a little bit. So the king got angry. Why is it rocking? Stop the palki. He said, who is rocking the thing? Bharat, this man is moving, kind of sidestepping and rocking the palki. Why are you doing this? You are an idiot. And when you said this is this lovely story. The stories of Hindu tradition are so lovely. Then for the first time, this Bharat, who had not spoken in his whole life, said, let me now tell him what is what. He said, oh king, who are you calling a fool? If you are calling this body a fool, the same thing that made up this body has made up your body. And then he started developing the philosophy of Vedanta. And he said, the reason why I was booing was because there were ants on the pathway and I didn't want to step on them. The same thing that is coming out through here is coming out through that life. I was avoiding stepping on it. So finally he gave this highest philosophy. And the king said, oh, you are a great Mahatma. What I made you carry my palki. Let me touch your feet and sit at your feet. And the Bharat said, no more attachment. I walk away. After opening his mouth, he disappeared back. He doesn't want to interact. This is a lovely story of Bharat. But anyway, I'm sorry, digressing a lot, but nice, colorful story. Stories, take them with a pinch of salt. Whether they occurred or not, the principle they are focusing on, this idea of do not associate yourself too much with any particular animal, is simply because, you see, have you noticed, forget about being reborn, even when you see some dogs and their owners, have you noticed they start to show each other's character? Have you noticed? When they're walking or talking or sometimes their hairstyle, they begin to start resemble each other. He says, what's going on here? It's very worrying, especially in England. You'll find that. Haven't you seen some yobs going with a Rottweiler? They kind of match up, the characters match up. The Rottweiler, and the yob goes, with those studs here, going for a walk, and they both walking the same way. You look from behind, they both seem to say, you see, don't be too attached. Look, we're not saying pets are bad. But we are saying don't get attached to higher things, not lower things, higher things. So attach yourself to a great prophet. Say that I like this, because then you'll fly off. Otherwise, if you attach yourself to the lower animal, you'll fly off there. And Hinduism says it's possible.